Hi there, Stephen Hughes, your hardship real estate pro, back again with Katherine Ambrose. And today we are just going to talk about the downsizing process. Pretty short and quick video, but we thought it'd be helpful.
Well, thank you, Stephen. So there's a lot of confusion between what is decluttering and what is downsizing. And so I think a good way to look at it is decluttering is when you're minimizing what's in your home that you're staying in. You're minimizing and organizing. That's part of a decluttering process. It's difficult for a lot of people to declutter, though, if they're not moving, especially if they kind of have too much stuff. If they have way too much, it's almost impossible. You hear the word hoarding thrown around a lot, and that's a very loaded word, and it doesn't apply to very many people. Another term I've heard, which I can relate to, is chronic disorganization. That a lot of times people just accumulate so much, and it's hard to figure out what to do with it. And so you're going to declutter or downsize. Downsizing is a little easier. It does involve a move, but it's a little easier because you're going to be motivated to get rid of stuff and in the process of moving. And then if you're exiting the real estate market, if you're really making a downsize move, it's going to be a lot easier to have an estate liquidator come in because usually estate sale people, they do not want to deal with a property and have an estate sale if the owner's still living there because they need to be able to come and go usually for about a 2-week period. And there's so much involved in liquidating an estate. So this is how my team does it. First of all, it's hard to know what to get rid of if you don't know where you're going and how much room you're going to have. So it needs to start with, where am I going? Where am I going to go? What size of a new place am I going to have? How is that going to be laid out? Now it's easier to start making decisions, which table I'm going to keep or if I'm going to shop for a new table. So where you're going, that has to come first. And don't get too excited and go list that house yet, because that would be a huge mistake. Hold tight, because now there's a sorting, packing process that needs to take place. What are you going to take with you to the new place? What in your home is going to go to other people? And are they willing to take it? Are they happy to have it? Don't guilt them into it because, especially if they're in their 40s or 60s, they're probably overloaded with their own stuff anyway. A lot of times what people might want is some emotional item and maybe not the whole set of china or some of the things that people might assume are part of the legacy. And so there's a lot of shock and guilt sometimes attached to that kind of stuff. So it's a fact that a lot of things that you think that you'd like to pass on might not work out the way you thought. So having an estate sale can be a good way to kind of release those things out into the universe to people that will love your items. A garage sale is kind of for the things throughout your life that you want to get rid of, the junk you don't want anymore. An estate sale is how you're letting go of things that you maybe love. And an estate sale is really a great opportunity to do that. But it's going to depend on a lot of things. And where Stephen is, he can tell you, he can take a look at what you have and let you know the most appropriate way to do it. But a lot of people like to do an estate sale. And then you've got to work with the estate sale schedule because that can be one of the trickiest parts of the timeline. So protecting the timeline is the most important part of this. Usually what works best is the homeowner moves into their new place and they get resettled. They get all settled in. They return things back to the house that they changed their mind on, and they grab those items that they changed their mind on that they want to take to the new place. So things might go back and forth. They get all resettled. Now you deal with what is to be dealt with in the home, personal property, the house itself, what's going to be done to get everything prepared, liquidate the extra stuff, and then sell the house after. Now, sometimes my husband and I, who are specialists in this in Kansas, will list the home according to what we think is the best thing to do and what the seller's wishes are. So we might put it on the market while they still live there. It just depends on the situation. But a lot of times we're putting it on after they've moved and they've been resettled. Then we put their house on the market. We know when the estate sale is going to be. And so we know that possession to the new buyer cannot take place until after the estate sale. Sometimes you don't put the house on the market until the estate sale is done and the house is left in at least broom swept condition. So broom swept condition is pretty normal. It's just kind of a light cleaning and things look decent. So usually the house will close after the estate sale. The estate sale at where I am ends Saturday at noon. We're usually closing the property Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the middle to the end of the week, because we don't want to rush the estate sale people because it's such exhausting work and there's work to be done after the estate sale, what to do with the extra stuff. That's kind of the best way to do the timeline. And there are professionals out there that can help you manage it or give you clues on how that can work out well. Some people might need a dumpster. And I'm sure, Stephen, you know the best way to get a dumpster brought to a house and how to manage that. And so there's a lot to it. And this is something that a specialist can help guide you through at little to zero cost, because the goal is to help you get where you need to be and get settled in. And then the house gets sold. And so realtors that are specialists are motivated to help do this well and get referrals for doing a great job. There's so
Yeah.
much relief that comes from all of that to getting it done and not moving things into storage, but getting it all done. So you don't have anything else on your to-do list other than celebrate your new life, your fresh start.
It's funny. That's exactly what we've done. And that's exactly what we just did with the transaction I did this past week. We told them, hey, we'll get a dumpster there for you. And they filled it up. They filled it up. And it was so helpful because they were so concerned, like, how are we going to get all of this stuff out?
Mhm.
We don't have a trailer to haul stuff to the dump. And it's like, put a dumpster in the driveway.
Yeah.
The estate sale versus garage sale. I think I might actually start saying it the way you said it, because
Mhm.
sometimes people, oh, well, we'll just do the yard sale on our own, but they don't realize that there are, like one we just did, they had a huge coin collection. Like, that's not something you just sell at a yard sale. You have
Right.
to
There's
get
some
coins.
research. Yeah, there's some
Yeah.
research to be done. And so I tell people that if your family's going to help you put on your own estate sale to save money, guess what? You're having a garage sale. It doesn't matter if you serve lemonade and cookies and you have the utilities all on, lights are on, and it looks fancy and the air conditioning's running. It's still a garage sale because you and your kids are not in the estate sale business. People that are in the estate sale business have a following of hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of people. They're going to make the items worth more than if you have a garage sale. It's a completely
Oh, yeah.
different thing, and so getting the right estate sale company is really important.
Yeah, I think you kind of touched on this, but I wanted to mention it. And is when you are moving, we're sorting stuff, we're packing it, and it's stuff that is going to go with you into a new community. It's really important to have a mover that is senior focused. That's been my experience. We recommend a good company, Senior Mover. There's really only two out here in Utah, if you can believe it, that focus on seniors. And one's been in business much longer, really can trust the guy, because it's not just about packing up stuff correctly. It's also about moving them into this new community that has certain rules and procedures for moving people in.
Yeah.
And gosh, sometimes these communities, they aren't on the first floor. It could be a multi-story place, but people are going up and down elevators. But the moving, you're going to go in the freight elevator, you got to go around corners. They have a lot of connections and I'd say networking with executive directors and marketing directors in these communities. So they actually make the move easier for you than if you just hired, 20 guys in a truck or whatever.
Oh, for sure, because they have knowledge and expertise in it. We have a senior protocol that we follow for managing the move. We have senior move managers that oversee the movers, even if they do have that extra special senior know-how. We even know what crew we want because it's that critical. So when it comes to senior move, the idea is to have less stress, not more stress. And our goal is to get you settled into your new place, maybe by about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, have walkways clear, have the kitchen ready so you can at least do what you want to do in the evening and the morning. Like, we get to know people really well. And so we know that, okay, they want to make their coffee in the morning and they need their medication here. We have the master bedroom set up, the primary bathroom set up, the TV hooked up, the computer hooked up. That's our goal, and to be gone by a certain amount of time, and to make sure that people are getting plenty of rest, water, nutrition, all that's factored in. And then we usually come in the next day to start the resettle process. Our goal is to get people all the way settled back in and get all the packing materials and everything done and gone, so that the neighbors are shocked, like, oh my gosh, it looks like you've been settled here for a long time. when in fact they just moved in, because our whole goal is to help reduce heart attack, stroke, accident, and illness, keep it a smooth transition, make it pleasant. That's the whole goal, is to make life better. And so we want the transition to go well. So it's not something you have to recover from. And so it's very important to us to do a good job resettling and then make the rest of everything else as smooth as possible. And so that's why I'm saying the most critical component is a specialist that's managing the whole process and has some real understanding on the best way to do it.
Yeah, and I think everything you said was put aptly. It's exactly what should happen. It's exactly what I do. Thank you so much for coming back to the channel again.
Thanks for
Did you have
having
any
me,
other
Stephen. Nope, just happy to visit with people anytime. And I thank you so much for helping your audience get some of these important details and for the work that you're doing.
Thank you so much. And again, we're going to have Catherine's info in the description box below. Biggest way to help her out and look for her stuff is go to pbs.org and to search in there, empowering seniors, correct?
Yes,
Because
that would
that's
be
your team.
great.
So
Okay.
tons of past information. So please be sure to check her out. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.